Okay, we're about to dive into some claims that are, well, they're so out there they sound like they're straight out of a movie. I'm talking interstellar travel, technology that's 50 years beyond anything we can even wrap our heads around. But here's the kicker. What if the person making these claims wasn't some science fiction writer? What if it was the guy who ran America's most secret aviation program? So let's just kick things off with the absolute bombshell that started it all. This quote, it launched a million theories. Just think about it. The idea that we already have the ability to travel to the stars, but that technology is being kept from us on purpose. This isn't just about some cool advanced plane. If this one statement is true, it completely rewrites everything we think we know about human progress. And that, of course, immediately makes you wonder, right? Who in the world would have the authority, the credibility to say something that huge? Is this just some random person on the internet, or is it someone who's actually been behind the curtain and knows what's really going on? All right, so let's pull back that curtain and reveal the man behind these words. And trust me, he's a total legend, from a world so secret its projects technically don't even exist. Officially, anyway. The man we're talking about is Ben Rich. And for 16 years, he was the director of Lockheed Skunkworks. Now, if you don't know, Skunkworks is a place that's so secret, it's almost mythical. It's the division that builds America's black projects. Those super classified, totally off-the-books aircraft that are flying around in the shadows, sometimes decades ahead of anything the public knows about. And his credentials? Oh, they're rock solid. They didn't call him the father of stealth for nothing. He was the guy in charge of developing the F-117 Nighthawk, that crazy-looking stealth plane that was flying for almost 10 years before anyone even knew it existed. See, he didn't just talk about black projects. He lived them. So when a guy like that starts talking about secret technology, you kind of have to listen. But here's where it gets even weirder. Rich's supposed knowledge went way beyond just the secret stuff we were building. He apparently made this really startling distinction. He said there are two types of UFOs, the ones we build, and then the ones they build. The implication there is just staggering. It suggests the head of Skunkworks wasn't just dealing with our own secret tech, but maybe non-human technology too. Okay, so where is all this incredible stuff coming from? You're not going to find it in some declassified government file. No, this comes from people who knew Rich personally, his colleagues, journalists he trusted. So let's take a look at who these sources actually are. All right, our first source is a guy named James Goodall. He's a really well-known, well-respected aerospace journalist, and importantly, he actually knew Ben Rich. Now, Goodall wasn't just some blogger, okay? This guy wrote for massive publications like Jane's Defense Weekly and Aviation Week. That means he had incredible access and, more importantly, the trust of people inside that super secretive military aerospace world. He wasn't just an outsider looking in. He was part of that community. And this is where it gets really compelling. The context here is everything. According to Goodall, this wasn't just some casual conversation. He says this happened just 10 days before Ben Rich died. It sounds like a final urgent message, a deathbed confession almost, about technology out in the desert that's 50 years beyond anything we could possibly comprehend. Okay, on to our second source. This is John Andrews, and he was definitely no outsider. He was a legendary Lockheed engineer in his own right, and he worked directly with Ben Rich. So the story goes that Andrews wrote a letter to Rich, basically saying he believed in UFOs. And Rich's reply? It was just a masterclass in how to say something without saying it. He wrote back that a lot of these so-called man-made UFOs were just unfunded opportunities. But he supposedly underlined the letters U, F, and O. It's like a wink and a nod, right? A confirmation hidden in plain sight. Now for our third key witness, Tom Keller. He's another aerospace engineer, this one with a background at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. And his story isn't about a private conversation. It's about a public speech that Rich gave. And this might be the boldest claim of the bunch, because it wasn't some private whisper. Keller says Rich said this out loud in public during a lecture at UCLA. He just flat out stated, "We now know how to travel to the stars," and then he called for an end to all the secrecy. Can you imagine? So, all of this leads to the one huge question, doesn't it? If any of this is real, how on earth does it work? We're obviously not talking about just bigger rockets or better jet fuel. This sounds like a complete rewrite of the laws of physics as we know them. Well, when someone actually asked him that exact question at that UCLA talk, Rich's answer was just wild.
Completely mind-bending. He didn't give a technical lecture. He just replied with a question of his own. How does ESP work? The implication is that the propulsion system is based on a kind of physics where everything is connected, almost like quantum entanglement, where you could theoretically travel from one point to another instantly by manipulating space-time itself. It's just, wow.
Okay, so let's say this tech exists, and let's say Rich himself was calling for an end to the secrecy. Then why is it still a secret? What could possibly be the reason to keep this under wraps? Well, we get a potential answer from another associate of Rich. And according to this source, Rich's own thinking on the whole secrecy thing actually changed a lot over time. Apparently, for years, the official reason for all the secrecy was basically, well, they were protecting us from ourselves. The idea was that the public, you and me, could not handle the truth, that the shock would be too much for our society, our religions, our economy, everything would just crumble. But then, toward the end of his life, something changed. His fears shifted. He supposedly started to worry that the real danger wasn't public panic at all. It was the powerful, completely unelected group that was controlling this technology. He apparently called them an international corporate board of directors. That suggests a power structure that's totally outside of any government control. And to him, that was way more terrifying than any alien. So, where does this leave us? What does it all add up to? I mean, these aren't just fun stories, right? They leave us with some really deep and frankly pretty unsettling questions. Let's just be super clear about the bottom line here. What we have is consistent testimony from several different sources that the father of stealth himself, an absolute giant of the aerospace world, claimed we have technology that could change the world and that it's being kept secret from every single one of us. And that just leaves us with one final thought to chew on. Remember, Ben Rich's team built the stealth fighter completely in secret. When that thing was finally revealed, it looked like something from another planet, pure science fiction. Now, if he was saying all those years ago that they already had stuff that was 50 years beyond that, it just makes you wonder, what in the world is still hidden out there in the black today?